My name is Dark Insanities. I have had type 1 diabetes since I was 14, nearly 15. It was like 11 days for my 15th birthday. It was a Tuesday right before Easter weekend. My Easter eggs have never lasted so long since, and never will again. Um, I never did before. Normally that was it, done on a Sunday afternoon. They lasted me 2 weeks. I've never had as many Easter eggs since. Um, so that happened. But yeah, so I had a good diabetes for like the first, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. I had pretty good diabetes control, and then it sort of slipped a bit. Then it slipped a bit more, and there was slippage. I stopped counting my admissions to hospital for diabetic ketoacidosis when I went past 20 or so. It's probably somewhere between 30 to 40 at this point. I've had this thing now for 13 years. So yay, not. I have Christmas is a bad time. Statistically, based on my history, I end up in hospital over Christmas more times than any other time. My very first ever admission was actually literally Christmas Day. And this was entirely my fault. I decided somehow through a extensive sequence of not thinking properly that because it was Christmas food, eating a entire chocolate orange at about midnight, right on Christmas morning, was a great idea. That couldn't possibly go badly wrong. And then come about 6 a.m. I woke up literally delirious to the point where I had no idea where I was. So I was being driven to A&E at 7 a.m. on Christmas morning. Yeah. Whoops. That was my first experience with what happens when things go really horribly wrong. I've had more, I've had better, and I've had worse. It gets to the point where I literally recognise some of the nurses in some of the hospitals at this point. I try to avoid that, but, yeah, that's a thing. Then we have the fun story. Actually, I can't remember what happened first now. No, so yeah, there was a bit where it came to, again, near Christmas sort of time, December sort of time. It became literally painful for me to walk. I have diabetic peripheral neuropathy in my feet now. They don't hurt anymore. I'm not entirely sure that's a good thing. I can stand in a freshly drawn bath and it feels wet. Not hot, not when I, lie down in it or whatever, and suddenly it's very hot, whatever. My feet literally don't feel the hot or cold. Perks, I can wear shorts and sandals literally all year round because it just doesn't feel cold. But yeah, there's that. So that's a thing. Then we get to another bit, not to get political, just to date things, but the morning of the Brexit referendum in the UK here, we went out to vote, got in a car, we literally vote, get into car, and we drove off. We went on holiday to Ireland. That weekend, I ended up in hospital in Ireland for 2 days, for the same thing again. I came back, my parents were staying longer in Ireland, so my brother and his girlfriend, they went off home. They live halfway across the country. I came home my own, whatever, came back. Yeah, this was on a Tuesday, I think. Wasn't feeling great, but it's just a sort of like, tired, you've just spent time heading all the way back from airport and all of that stuff. It's a sort of, yeah. Went back to work for a few days, so on, so on, so on. Felt like I was mostly keeping... Like, my history of diabetes throughout this entire period was a case of barely... Like, we weren't talking good sugar levels, we were talking... I was high all the time, I just generally kept it approximately more or less under control. Then it gets to Saturday morning, and... Yeah... The very last thing I remember from that was about 5 or 6 a.m. on the Saturday morning, because for some reason I decided that staying up all night was the thing I needed to be doing. Yeah. When I was found in a diabetic coma, I'm told I was an hour or two away from needing a body bag, not an ambulance, to put it very bluntly. I woke up sometime in the middle of Monday morning with, again, literally no clue where I was, a tube down my throat and pipes sticking out of half my body in the intensive care unit. Comas will do that for you. Don't do that. I was literally having nightmares for the next couple of months, I think. And despite my genuine and entire complete intention to finally actually get my life under control with this, I ended up in hospital with standard DKA 3 more times the same year, and I think this was probably the worst I have ever felt about it, because it was like, well, I can't keep it under control even after that. What's the bloody point and all of that, and all, you know. But yeah, I've sort of more or less got past that bit of it now, and it's generally been fairly good over the last couple of years. There's always going to be things. I can't remember the last time I was in hospital. I think it was second half of last year. But yeah, I can't remember the last time I ended up in hospital. Precisely, but it's been much less over the last few years, and so yeah, and since our lockdown started, like, here's the thing, I have bad control at the best of times. If I get sick, that goes generally out of the window. I'm fairly certain at least several of the times I've ended up in hospitals, it's quite often just me being stupid, but several other times I'm fairly certain it's just I caught some other bug. I don't tend to get sick, and when I do, I don't tend to be particularly symptomatic over it, like the colds and stuff. It's just my sugar levels go out the window. Yeah, under current medical circumstances around the world, that's... Yeah, I don't need COVID, because that's just going to end badly. So I finally got one of the Dexcoms. And now my sugar level control is mostly really, really good. So yeah, pizza's always fun. But yeah, now it's mostly good. But yeah. Interestingly, the single thing I miss the most... So you would think, given my average Coke intake is that you'd think that full sugar Coke is actually what I would miss the most from pre-diabetes. It's not actually true. I'd switched to Diet Coke before that was a thing. The thing I miss the most is actually apple juice. I have some apple juice, which I use for emergencies, and orange juice and stuff there. I didn't have apple juice very often, but proper pure apple juice is just so tasty. That's a thing. Yeah, this is my history of diabetes, basically. I have peripheral neuropathy. I will probably never feel anything properly in my legs ever again. I suspect it started affecting my eyes. Maybe, don't know. I'm probably overdue for an optician's appointment at this point. Otherwise, I'm mostly functional about it. But yeah, I've ended up in hospital genuinely and literally more times than I can count on hands and feet. I gave up counting. I spent 2 days in a coma. Diabetes sucks. Don't get diabetes. Not that there's really much you can do about that for type 1. Type 2 you can do stuff about. Type 1 a little harder. But yeah, that's a thing. I'm sort of working my way towards hopefully eventually getting a pump. That's tricky to do in this country. Like, Dexcom is not NHS, it's private thing, so paying for that, because I can actually afford that because I'm not spending money on petrol and canteen food. But yeah, it's... Yeah. We'll get there. But yeah. Me, diabetes stuff. Yay.